Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters. It's a Sunday afternoon here in Zimbabwe, in Harare. MashaAllah, the weather is absolutely beautiful. And as you can see, there is a little bit of sunshine on one side and there are clouds on the other side, MashaAllah. My brothers and sisters, I really want to share something with you that is very, very sad, You see, a few years back, like maybe 2 decades back, 3 decades back, we were living in communities and societies that were isolated in most cases. Some happened to grow, but a lot of these communities were isolated. And when I say isolated, I mean that, it is just us who mix with each other, the same race, the same type of people, the same understanding, and so on. But as time passed and technology advanced, we started having interactions with others, and it was the first time in a lot of cases that opportunities arose to fulfill a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ of equality between the races, between the nationalities. I mean, nationality is something that came way after all of this, but the races, I'm talking of the colors here, and the different types of people, the cultures and so on, and nowadays, even if you're living within a rural village of a country that, for example, might be third world, and you haven't had the opportunity to travel, I still think that because of this mobile phone and technology, we have an opportunity to interact with people of different races and different parts of the world. As a result, we get to know people. And sometimes over social media, you get to know people. Yes, I do know there are a lot of bogus people out there. There are a lot of people who show you what they're not. There are a lot of abusers. There are a lot of people who are, fake in the sense that they're trying to gain money or they're trying to cheat someone out of something or deceive. I do know there are a lot of those. But we get to know people from across the globe. And sometimes they are lovely people, really, really good people. And, we see them, we see the way they're also keen about the deen, just like we are. Wallahi, I visited countries that I have actually seen the way they look after their kids is very similar to the way we were brought up or the way I look after my own kids. And we're interested in trying to give them a decent, all-round upbringing, focusing on the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trying to inculcate within them the salah, the importance of the Arabic language, for example, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, the importance of tafsir, the importance of the du'as, the importance of speaking, with respect, staying away from bad words, dressing in a nice way, in a modest way, not going into that which is dirty or ugly in any way, whether it's through technology or just like that, having a good set of friends, having good manners. That's the way we were brought up, and that's the way I see people sometimes belonging to totally different cultures, focusing on exactly the same things. Wallahi, there was a brother from Liberia that I visited, and in his house, wallahi, I won't lie to you, it was as though I entered my own house. And his kids were dressed in a similar way. They were reading Quran on one side. There was someone there teaching them Quran. His family, the way the family operates, very, very much similar to mine. And I was thinking, subhanAllah, we are brought up totally, totally differently, completely different places. But our focus is Allah. Our focus is the Almighty. We would love to see, yes, someone living on earth and earning a good life, a good living, but not compromising the relationship with Allah. And we want to see Jannah for all of them. So when I saw this person's family, and I was touched. I even came home and I told my own family to say, you know what? There are so many people out there, and this is one example. I've seen thousands because I've traveled. And I've fallen in love with communities and societies simply because I see their focus is Allah. And their focus is similar focus to mine. Now, the question is, especially to the older generation, if your children want to marry someone from a different race, from a different culture, someone perhaps far away, someone perhaps who might not be the same nationality, please open your heart, open your mind, Don't be closed. Don't think, what's my father going to say? What's my brother going to say? What's my sister going to say? Open your mind, open your heart. It's definitely something worth looking at. Sometimes some of these people are way better than those who live in your own society and community. So you need to understand this, that my brothers and sisters, every day I receive, every single day, I receive emails from people whose parents are not bothered, not interested in getting them married. A lot of the sisters out there, sometimes I believe their parents just want them to go out and earn and bring back the money and give it to them so they can become rich, and they don't care if the child is turning, an age where perhaps they're passing what used to be called in a derogatory way the sell-by date. I don't believe there is a sell-by date of a person, but I do believe as soon as the opportunities arise, if you don't seize them, you may lose them. So remember this, you have to understand people may be of different tribes, of different cultures, of different backgrounds, of different nationalities. I promise you, times have changed completely. You cannot get advice from someone whose mind is still in 1970, 1980, 1960 and earlier. You cannot. We're living in a technological age of advancement that never ever was before. So those of a foretime are not qualified to talk to us. We still follow the same principles of Quran and Sunnah, definitely, but technology didn't exist until recently. So to try and look back at what someone who didn't even know what was going to happen said becomes redundant and irrelevant if we find that it's wrong. The spread of racism is a real problem, real problem, where people actually think that because someone belongs to a different race, they're inferior, or they're not worth getting married to, or they're not worth, for example, developing a relationship with, or trusting, and so on. These are stereotypes that we definitely need to destroy, because we're Muslimin. We belong to Allah and His Rasul. Every community has good and bad. Every race has good and bad. Every nation has good and bad. Even within every person there is good and bad. So remember this. And I'm so passionate. I'm sitting here at home on a Sunday afternoon here out on the lawn, and I'm thinking to myself, subhanallah, I wish I could speak to some of these parents and tell them, you know what, if you don't let your children marry, I promise you there is a shortage of good men out there. There is a shortage of good men out there. I promise you there is a shortage of good men out there. You might laugh at me and say, oh wow, maybe there's a shortage of good women out there as well. There is more a shortage of good guys. You know why? For some strange reason, I found this, that the focus is sometimes not on the right things. People need to focus on the right things. If, for example, someone is showing an interest in your child, study the matter. I'm not saying say yes or no. Get the guy, talk to him, see what he's all about. Even if he comes from China, even if he comes from wherever else, check him out. Give him a chance. See, he may be better than you in the deen, in the khuluq, and he, if really they want to get married and there's nothing from a religious perspective stopping you, why not? For what? Why are you blocking it? Why allow the culture and just say, oh, it's religion, it's religion. People use the term kafa'a and kufu to say, no, they're not kufu, they're not equal. I tell you what, let's take Britain, for example. You have people from all sorts of ethnicities and backgrounds living there. Their children were born there, for example. They went to the same schools. They spoke the same languages. They learned the same thing. They went to the same madrasa, for example. They had the same norms. They went to the same universities. They work in the same place. And you're coming to tell me they're not kufu because the color is different, or because they're originally from another nationality. Or because the two countries back at home are actually fighting with each other. So here in Britain, we're not allowed to intermarry because of that. I mean, come on. Where in the Quran and Sunnah does it say that? And you still want to think that you're going to earn the pleasure of Allah? You still want to think you're going to have an answer for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that one? Come on, my brothers and sisters. I know a lot of you might be thinking that, my father or my mother who needs to hear this, isn't listening or won't hear this. Well, please, can you take this? And it's going to be up on YouTube as well, inshallah. Please, can you take it and let them listen to it? They are wrong to stop you and block you from getting married. I've known of people, hundreds, if not thousands of young boys and girls, astaghfirullah, they're going out for 4 years, 5 years, they're having, well, you can call it a little affair or whatever you want to call it, haram relationship for 4, 5, 6 years. And you know what, when they're so scared to approach their parents because they say, my father's going to say no, my mother's going to say no. And you know what, a lot of the times their parents say no. So on one hand, I've always said, don't start up a relationship when you know your folks are going to say no. And don't start up a relationship when you know that it's haram, because it's only going to come back to you with regret. That's it. But if you really have identified someone for marriage, even if they happen to be someone from a different race or a different nationality or a different background, etc., for as long as their deen, their akhlaq and their general standard of living is similar to yours, then you should approach your parents, and parents should be from those who actually listen, meet the guy, talk to him. Don't just say no. And sometimes what I don't like, and this is the worst thing possible, where parents choose unilaterally the kids or their kids' spouse. They choose unilaterally. Unilaterally meaning without any input of the child. They say, right, you're getting married, here's the guy. I found him and that's it. And the girl or the boy is like, okay, thank you very much or whatever. And meanwhile, they're having an affair somewhere. They're actually doing something wrong somewhere. Their heart is not there sometimes. And we expect to achieve goodness. I can't believe we're living now in the 21st century and we are actually facing that problem. And we're blaming Islam for it. And parents say, you know what I tell the parents? You have failed in your own marriage and you want to impose your failed opinions on your children now. If they were to make their decision on their own with a little bit of guidance perhaps from you, they probably would choose better than you did. So if you made that mistake, it goes to show you don't know how to choose a spouse. How on earth are you imposing on your spouse, on your children, their spouse? So my beloved brothers and sisters, it's an important point. And that's why I say when you have your own children, and I'm addressing those who are slightly older, like myself and others, make sure that you're open to ideas. This is not something that is enshrined in the deen that says you should close it to the people of your village only, the people of your family only. There was a time when I used to think, because of ignorance, I used to think that perhaps getting married to your closest family circle is something of the deen, but it's not. It's actually not. It's a cultural thing. The further you go, perhaps the better it is even for your genes. Subhanallah. So my brothers and sisters, let's understand. The reason why I'm so passionate about this is I can't believe every day people from good homes, living in brilliant countries, sometimes wealthy people, educated people, and they cannot see the light. Your son or daughter goes to the university or works at the pharmacy or works at the hospital or works at the university. They've met someone. Come on, if they tell you, firstly, you should have a relationship such that they can tell this to you. And secondly, if they tell you, you must take it seriously. That's your child. That's their life. So take it seriously. Make sure that you have actually listened. You have, like I said, met the person. Give them a chance. If you have reason, proper reason, then okay. Recently, there have been a few cases where someone wanted to marry a man who was younger than them. And the father says, how can you marry someone who's 4 years younger than you? I'm not going to allow that. What will my brothers say? What will my family members say? That is foolish. That is actually the silliest thing ever. The Prophet ﷺ himself was younger by far than Khadija bint Khuwaylid radiallahu anha. Okay? So if there is someone who is younger and he wants to marry your daughter, and your daughter wants to marry him, and they're both happy, and the guy is reasonable in his level of deen and akhlaq, and there is a similarity somehow in upbringing. I give you an example of Indians, with all due respect, okay? Give you an example of Indians. If you come from the north, they have a problem with those from the south. And if you come from the east, they have a problem with those from the west. Not only that, if you come from the other side of the river, they have a problem with the people from this side of the river. And I think that problem extends to many, many countries. I believe it exists even in parts of Africa. Like when I went to Nigeria, Nigeria, I was also told that if you're from the north and you want to marry someone from the south, it's still a little bit of an issue. And in some homes, it's no, why? At the end of the day, there is so much similarity between you. But they say, no, the difference is X, Y, and Z. What is it? Another point. This is very, very important. If your child wants to marry a revert, and this happens a lot, open your doors. Check them out. Treat them exactly the same way. No different. I tell you, there are people, again, I don't want to say countries, but I could mention the same names and I could mention others. I mentioned India, I mentioned Nigeria, I could mention Pakistan, I can mention UK, I can mention USA, I can mention a lot of places, right? If a revert would like to get married, people actually make it so difficult. They just say, no, a revert, how? They're not proper Muslims. Astaghfirullah, they're better Muslims than you and I. Another thing is, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ were all reverts. You think of that. The companions of the Prophet ﷺ were all reverts. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu was a revert. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu was a revert. Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu was a revert. Would you say no to them to marry your child? If the answer is you would say no, then you're lost. Totally lost. So revert, not revert, a person who comes from this race, not this race, whatever else, you're this. Please open your heart. Please start looking at these things. If we don't address this matter, the kids are suffering and they're committing adultery, fornication, whatever else, abortions, unwanted pregnancies, so many things. If you have to see a little bit of what we get in terms of emails and problems of people, you would be depressed. And if it's your child, you don't even know. I know of people from very, very good homes. Their parents don't even know what they're up to. Don't even have a clue what they're up to, and they're from brilliant homes. And the father is so stubborn that when the child comes up, I'm really keen on marrying this person. The poor fellow has built the courage to come and talk to the father, or he's ready to talk to the father, and the father says, no, I'm not interested and I don't want. The loss is yours, not theirs. The loss is yours. Like I told you, there's a shortage of good guys. The loss is yours, not theirs. Subhanallah. May Allah grant us ease. So these are some of the problems that we face. Yeah, exactly what someone is saying here, that the Sahaba were all reverts, all of them. And amazing, I want to tell you, Bilal ibn Rabah al-Habashi, radiallahu anh, he was from Africa. He was dark in complexion. We would call it black, subhanallah. There was absolutely no difference between him and the others. If anything, he was higher. The Prophet ﷺ came back from Al-Mi'raj and says, I heard your footsteps in paradise, O Bilal. Imagine, that goes to show. And I always am amazed by how Allah chose for the Prophet ﷺ to have a companion who was black, another who was white, and the others who were Arab, and the others, a few were Persian and some others. Why did this whole, combination come together as companions? For us to learn a lesson. To say, whether they are black or white or red or yellow or green or whatever else, it doesn't hold weight in the eyes of Allah. Allah says, Inna Allah ta'ala la yanzuru ila suwarikum wala ila ajsadikum. Allah does not look at your image, your picture, your outside, your bodies, and what you look like. He looks at your heart and your deeds, and he makes, that's where he will judge you from, subhanallah. But with us, it's got to do with no external. This guy is too dark in complexion. This person, no, they're Caucasian. I don't want you to marry because they don't have the culture. Astaghfirullah. I mean, there can be a person who's revert, for example, white. I'm talking of Caucasian. What's wrong? Good people, brilliant people. And perhaps sometimes they're more keen on the deen than anyone else. They'd make the best fathers and mothers better than you, who is saying no to him or to her. Subhanallah. My brothers and sisters, I don't think there can be any clearer message than this. But I want to tell you, we need to raise this awareness. And I promise you, when your children come up with this, don't be a hypocrite to give advice to others, and when it happens in your own home, you say, no, not me, everyone else but not me. No. Like I said, wallahi, I've been to places where I've seen the people of totally different races practicing the deen and concerned about their children in exactly the same way that I am. And I live miles away in another continent, sometimes same continent, but right on the other end of it. And they're concerned about the deen. That's amazing how the deen brings us together. You go to Australia, for example, it's the first time in history, over the last few decades, that people of different ethnicities come together in one country. It wasn't before. And you know, before we used to have, oh, this is this mosque and this is that mosque, and people of that mosque only get together at one place, and this is only for this ethnicity, and this is only, that has broken in a lot of cases, and it is breaking and will break in those that have not yet broken. It's going to become international, cosmopolitan, and your kids will mix with people of all different colors and wherever else. And the day they want to marry, open the doors. If you don't, you are actually promoting haram, because in a lot of cases they are already doing haram. You see, we live in a hypersexualized age, totally hypersexualized. Everything is about sex. Everything. Let's not lie to ourselves. Everything is about sex. If we don't wake up to help our children and to help those who live around us to do things in a halal way, we will be vehicles of earning the wrath of Allah and the anger of Allah. You know, sometimes you could be living, like I said, in a small little village, but because of technology, your child might have gotten to know someone who's a brilliant human being from somewhere else. They could be a fraud, but they could be absolutely brilliant. You have to give them a chance. You have to look at them, talk to them, let your child know that you have made the effort to try and find out more about them before you just said, look, I don't think it's a good idea, or wow, a brilliant idea, turned out to be a lovely person, and I really am proud of the fact that you spoke to me about it, and here I am helping you. So anyway, I've spoken a lot. It's a Sunday afternoon. I'm going to post this up just now. It will be up for 24 hours here, and it's going to be up on YouTube on my channel. You will see it, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Like I said, let's conscientize everyone. I see you're noticing this Omani outfit that was given to me by Dr. Wa'il, mashallah. And I really appreciate that. I make use of it often, mashallah, alhamdulillah. May Allah bless him and grant cure to his father who is not doing well, and all those who are sick and ill across the globe. And may Allah bless all of you and grant you goodness. And I pray that we can meet again, and I hope that we can do something about this issue that I've spoken about today. أقول قولي هذا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.